Imagine you finally find, like, a remote job online that looks incredibly promising. You spend hours passing a timed logic test. You read all the training documents, page after page, making sure you understand every single detail.
Yeah, the onboarding alone is a huge time commitment.
Right. And then you finally get an email saying, congratulations, a product is waiting for you. You log in excitedly, ready to do some work and actually make some money. But your screen is completely blank. 0 tasks.
Oh, that is a confusing moment for a lot of people. You sit there wondering if it is a glitch with your computer or if you accidentally clicked the wrong button during the setup.
Or you start wondering if the whole platform is just a massive waste of your time. Today, we are explaining the Outlier AI application process.
Yes, it's a topic with a lot of confusion around it, for sure.
In this video, we'll cover assessment, onboarding, and what to expect. The goal is to give you a practical, beginner-friendly guide to what actually happens when you apply to train artificial intelligence models. I will admit up front, I'm a bit cautious about this whole system.
Really? How come?
Well, it requires a lot of unpaid time and effort before you ever see a paycheck. I mean, you're doing all this work just to prove you could do the work.
I completely understand why you feel cautious about that. When any system asks for that much unpaid effort before you officially start, it is, normal to be skeptical.
Exactly.
But I view the process with a bit of optimism, too. If you can get through the hurdles, it is a highly flexible way to work. Plus, you get a front row seat to see how these new technologies are actually built.
That flexibility is definitely the main draw, I agree. But before anyone can enjoy setting their own hours, you have to get through the initial application without getting immediately rejected.
Right. Which is harder than it sounds.
So here's what you should expect during the initial setup. The very first step is standard. You go to the website, create a basic profile, and upload your resume.
Right, which feels like applying for almost any job on the internet today.
But the system does not just send your resume to a human resources manager. The automated system actively pulls specific skills from your document and cross-references those skills with your public professional profiles, like LinkedIn.
Yes, they have scrapers that do exactly that.
Wait, why are they digging into your social profiles before you even take a basic test? That seems, I don't know, intense.
It comes down to verifying your credentials as early as possible. These platforms deal with thousands of applicants every single day.
Wow, thousands.
Yeah. And the work pays reasonably well for the gig economy, which means they have to prevent fake experts from flooding the system.
Ah, I see. So they are essentially checking your references before the interview even starts.
Yes. If an applicant claims to have, say, 10 years of professional experience in advanced physics, but their public professional profile shows they have only worked in retail, the system flags that discrepancy immediately.
That makes sense.
Because the quality of the artificial intelligence depends entirely on the quality of the human teaching it. If you feed the computer bad physics data from a fake expert, the entire AI model gets worse.
That makes perfect sense as a quality control measure.
Hmm.
So after that initial check, the platform gives you a list of skills. You are allowed to select up to 10 skills to add to your profile.
Yes, up to 10.
Now, if I am applying and I want to maximize my chances of getting a task, my instinct is to check as many boxes as possible. If I took, like, one marketing class in college, I might check that box.
I strongly advise against doing that.
Why?
This is a crucial point where many people fail right at the start. You should only pick skills that you actually possess at a professional or highly advanced level. Do not exaggerate your abilities.
Not even a little bit to cast a wider net. I mean, just to get your foot in the door.
Not even a little bit, because you will be tested heavily on every single skill you select.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. If you pick subjects where you only have a surface level understanding, you will fail those assessments. And failing multiple assessments can really hurt your overall standing on the platform.
So it actually penalizes you.
Exactly. Honesty is the best policy here. You are much better off selecting 2 skills that you have truly mastered rather than 10 skills you are just guessing at.
That is an important warning to keep in mind. So you curate your skills very carefully. But before you get to those customized skill tests, there's a general hurdle everyone has to clear.
Right, the general reasoning screening.
Yeah, the platform wants to see how you think before testing what you know.
Yes, everyone must pass this general reasoning screening. It's basically a baseline cognitive test. It ensures you have the core mental skills required to handle AI training tasks.
General reasoning sounds a bit vague, though. What does that actually look like when you are sitting at your computer trying to pass the test?
It tests your logical deduction, your reading comprehension, and your pattern recognition. For instance, they might give you a very complex set of rules about how to categorize a paragraph of text, and then ask you to apply those rules to a very tricky scenario.
Okay, so they might say something like, categorize this text as an email unless it contains numbers, then categorize it as a financial report. But if the numbers are spelled out as words, it goes back to being an email.
That is a great example. The platform specifically looks for your ability to follow highly complex, sometimes contradictory instructions.
Contradictory instructions. That sounds frustrating.
It can be, but when you are evaluating an artificial intelligence, the client guidelines change constantly. You need to hold all that complex logic in your head without getting confused or taking shortcuts.
I suppose if you are going to find logical flaws in a computer's output, your own logic has to be incredibly sharp.
Exactly.
So, alongside this logic test, you also have to go through a very strict identity verification process.
Yes, you must prove your identity using a government-issued ID, like a driver's license or a passport.
Many applicants report that this part is incredibly frustrating. Some candidates describe having very limited attempts to pass the automated ID verification. Like usually you only get 2 tries.
Just 2 tries, yeah.
It sounds like dealing with a rigid digital bouncer at a club. If your room lighting is a bit dim or your webcam is slightly blurry, the bouncer just blocks the door and you are locked out.
The automated systems are completely unforgiving. They are highly sensitive because they are designed to stop fraud and duplicate accounts.
Right, which goes back to preventing those fake experts.
Exactly. That is why following the instructions carefully is so critical. Find a room with bright, natural lighting. Make sure there are no shadows over your face or the plastic ID card. Hold the camera steady.
So don't just do it casually from your couch.
Definitely not. Do not rush through it assuming you can easily try again, because your attempts run out very fast.
Okay, let's assume you get through all of that. You have good lighting, the digital bouncer lets you in, and you pass the general logic screening. Now you face the specific skill tests.
Yes, and these are notoriously intense.
They really are intense.
Whoa.
The platform uses these exams to filter for extremely high-quality thinkers. As we mentioned earlier, the whole purpose of the work is to protect the artificial intelligence models from learning bad habits.
That's right.
We should give a specific example so people know what to expect. What does an intense skill test actually involve?
Sure. So I will share a brief scenario from an applicant who applied for a software coding role. They were given a test using Python, which is a common programming language.
Right.
They had to review a path-finding algorithm. And the intense part was the time limit. They only had 8 minutes to read the code and explain how a specific function affected its performance.
Wait, 8 minutes? I have to push back on that kind of test.
Deep fast, I know.
In the real world, if you are a programmer working at a desk, you can look things up online. You can consult reference materials. Forcing someone to analyze an algorithm and write a detailed explanation in exactly 8 minutes feels like an artificial stress test.
It definitely feels like a high-pressure college exam. But they designed it this way for a specific reason.
Which is what?
They need to measure human intuition under pressure. They want to see if you instinctively understand the core concepts without needing to spend 20 minutes researching the syntax on another website.
So they want to know that the knowledge is native to your brain, not just something you can easily search for.
Exactly. The important point is to be prepared. Treat this assessment exactly like a formal exam. Find a completely quiet place, turn off your phone, read every word carefully, and just focus entirely on the task.
Let's follow this timeline forward. You treat it like an exam, you focus, and you actually pass the specific skill test. You are finally hired. But this transition from completing the onboarding to actually earning money is where expectations often collide with reality.
Oh, absolutely. This is usually the biggest point of frustration for new applicants.
Because many candidates spend all these unpaid hours setting up their profile, taking perfect photos of their ID, reading long training documents, and passing stressful tests.
Right.
Only to face EQ empty queue, meaning no tasks are available.
It is a jarring experience. You prove you are capable, and then there is simply nothing for you to do.
Why does this happen, though? If the platform just spent all this effort filtering and testing you, why wouldn't they have work ready for you the moment you pass?
Well, it helps to understand the gig-based nature of these platforms. This is not a traditional job where a manager assigns you a steady stream of daily tasks.
Right.
These technology companies process data in massive batches.
Like a warehouse receiving a massive shipment of supplies all at once.
Yes, that is a really good way to look at it. When a new batch of data drops from the client, there is a sudden flood of thousands of tasks on the platform. All the approved workers log in and start processing them. The work is very busy for a while.
But eventually, the workers finish that entire batch.
Right. And when the batch is done, the queue goes empty. At that point, the workers have to wait while the software engineers take all that completed human work, feed it into the artificial intelligence, analyze the new results, and prepare the next batch of data.
So passing all those difficult onboarding tests really just means you are qualified to sit on a virtual bench until the next batch arrives.
Pretty much. You earn a spot on the bench. You are approved to work when the work is actually there.
But what about when the work is actively flowing? Is the money reliable?
The compensation is real, but there are a few important details you need to understand. The process can vary by role, project, and location. Your specific skill set and where you live in the world will determine what projects you have access to.
And how do people actually get their money out of the system once they earn it?
Outlier says payments are processed weekly, and payment options may include PayPal, AirTM, or ACH bank transfer. Payment methods can vary by location.
Just to clarify those options for everyone, an ACH transfer is just a standard direct deposit to your local bank account, while AirTM is a digital wallet platform often used by international workers.
That is correct. So you do have reliable ways to transfer your earnings once you accumulate them.
Okay, so it can be a real opportunity, but it is not guaranteed work. You cannot depend on it the way you would depend on a regular salary to pay your rent on the first of the month.
No, definitely not. This is why expectations matter so much. If you view it as a flexible opportunity that ebbs and flows, you will be much less stressed than someone expecting a predictable 40-hour work week.
Let's say the bench clears. The massive batch of data drops, the tasks arrive, and you're actively working and earning money.
The best case scenario.
Right. How do you maintain that momentum? Like, how do you make sure you keep getting tasks?
You have to understand that the work environment is highly competitive. Once you are on a project, your performance is constantly monitored. You receive a quality score based on the accuracy of your work.
How much does that score actually matter, though? Is it just a metric or?
It determines everything. Your quality score dictates whether you get to stay on a project, whether you get access to more tasks, or whether you move up into higher paying tiers. If your score drops too low, you might be removed from the project entirely and sent right back to the empty queue.
Yikes. So you really have to pay attention to the details to keep that score high. I noticed that a common mistake people make once they start working is ignoring the project's communication tools, specifically the Slack channels.
Oh, ignoring Slack is one of the fastest ways to fail on these platforms.
For anyone who doesn't use it, Slack is a business messaging application. Why is checking messages so critical for a remote gig worker who's just doing individual tasks?
Because the project managers and administrators post real-time updates in those channels. The rules for evaluating these AI models can change incredibly quickly. What was considered a correct answer on Monday might be considered an incorrect answer on Wednesday, simply because the client updated their guidelines.
Oh, wow. It's like being an independent contractor building a house.
Yeah.
You have to check the blueprint every single morning. The architect might have completely changed the design of the living room overnight. If you just put your head down and build yesterday's wall today, you fail the inspection.
That is the perfect way to visualize it. You really cannot rely on yesterday's instructions. You have to read the pinned messages, check for announcements, and make sure you are applying the most current logic to your tasks.
That requires a lot of active attention. You cannot just listen to music and mindlessly click buttons.
Far from it. And that brings up another major factor in maintaining a high-quality score. Succeeding on these platforms requires writing exceptionally good justifications.
What exactly is a justification in this context?
When you are given a task, you usually have to rate a response provided by the computer. But you do not just click a button that says good or bad. You must write a paragraph explaining exactly why the response is right or wrong.
If the computer generates like a weird paragraph of text, can I just write, "This sounds strange and unnatural"?
No, that kind of feedback will get your quality score downgraded immediately. You have to be highly specific.
How specific?
You need to point out the exact sentence that is flawed, explain the logical error it contains, and reference the specific rule in the project guidelines that the computer violated.
Why do they need all that detail? I mean, if the answer is wrong, it is wrong.
Because the software engineers adjusting the model never actually see the original task. They only see your written feedback. They rely on your specific explanation to understand how the system's logic failed, specifically so they can fix the underlying problem. If your feedback is vague, the engineers cannot fix the issue.
So you are essentially acting as a translator between a flawed computer output and the engineer trying to fix it. That takes serious analytical skill and clear writing.
It really does. It requires critical thinking and a lot of adaptability on a daily basis.
This has certainly clarified a lot of the confusion surrounding this process. To sum it all up, the platform is entirely legitimate, and it does offer real earning potential for people with specialized skills. However, the onboarding process is an undeniably tough series of tests, and the daily workflow is highly unpredictable.
Here's the practical takeaway. You have to approach this with the right mindset. You cannot control when the batches of tasks will arrive, but you can control how prepared you are when they do.
The real question is not just whether you can pass the assessment, it's whether you can stay patient, follow changing instructions, and handle the uncertainty of project-based work.
That kind of patience is a skill all on its own.
It really is. Thank you for listening today. We hope this gives you a clearer picture of what happens behind the scenes with these applications. Keep your expectations grounded. If you do find yourself staring at that blank screen with 0 tasks, at least now you know why it happens, and you know that the virtual bench is just part of the process. We will catch you next time.